Hi everyone, April here. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my September TBR. I know what you're thinking. April, you abandoned your booktubeathon TBR. And you're absolutely right. And that failure has kept me up every night. But as they say, when at first you don't succeed, try again. Who said that? William Shakespeare? In any case, I am back with a September TBR. I believe I'm going to be successful at this, but it is slightly ambitious because September is turning out to be a very busy month for me, but we're going to try to make it work. So let's get started. The first book I've already started reading. It is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This is the first book in the All Souls trilogy. It's a fantasy paranormal romance series that centers around a witch named Diana Bishop and a vampire named Matthew Claremont. They are investigating an alchemic text called Ashmole 782. It is rumored that this text possesses the formula to the Philosopher's Stone and also possibly the secrets to creation itself. Not just for humanity, but for also witches, demons, and vampires. All of these beings live in a very segregated society. They don't really interact. And the information that this text supposedly has could be dangerous, because once you understand how to create something, you may find the way to uncreate it. This is the first book in the series, therefore it's a basic setup. It is establishing the world, setting up the magic system, and giving you tons and tons of character development, all of which I've been enjoying. My favorite part of the book thus far has been the chapter on, what do you call it? Genetic archaeology, where they discuss the DNA difference between all of the different beings. It is fascinating. I love that part of it, and I believe there's going to be a lot more of that in here. This is kind of an old story. I think it's 6 or 7 years old, but what brought it back to the forefront for me was that during San Diego Comic-Con, there was a trailer for the upcoming television series. It seems that Sky Network over there in the UK has developed this story into a series, and it starts this month, September 14th. Of course, we don't have Sky Network here, so I won't be able to see the show until it makes its way across the pond. But by then, I would have read the first book and I'll be all ready for it. I can't wait. Next up, I am reading a Kindle read, and it is Hollywood Homicide by Kelly Garrett. It is described as a cozy mystery. It's about a woman named Dana Anderson. I think that's her name. She is a former actress turned amateur PI, and she is investigating a fatal hit and run accident. This book was recommended by another author named Kyra Davis. She writes cozy mysteries as well that have women of color as the lead, and I'm a big fan of hers, so when she suggested this, I thought I'd pick it up. So far, I'm liking it. It's very familiar to me. I understand the culture, I understand the city, I understand the dynamics and the character relationships. It reads kind of like a friend telling you a story about something that happened that you just wasn't present for. I'm really enjoying it. I like the dialogue. It's an easy read. Again, it's very familiar, so I may be a little biased toward it, but I'm having a good time. Next up, I have the 20th anniversary house edition of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, written by J.K. Rowling. This is the Hufflepuff edition because I'm a proud Hufflepuff. And I just got it the other day, and so I threw it into my September TBR because even though I have multiple copies of Harry Potter books, I read each and every copy that I get. So I received this recently and it goes immediately into my TBR. Chamber of Secrets, I believe, is the second book in the franchise, and I am excited to have it. It's so pretty. Look at it. It has information about the House of Hufflepuff. There's Helga Hufflepuff. And there is the badger on the back. It's a pretty book. The 20th anniversaries are released each year. So if you collect the entire series, when you have them all, they should create this effect. The first one was black, this one is yellow, the next one will be black. I think you get it. But yeah, this is cute. I don't think there needs to be a synopsis of what this is about. It's Harry Potter. I have been in a contemporary romance mood for a couple of months now. I read The Hating Game and then The Kiss Quoting, and I want to keep that train going. So I picked up The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. It has a blurb on here by Roxane Gay, so that was another plus for it. I believe it is about a man and a woman who meet in an elevator. They get stuck or something, and he divulges while they're waiting to be set free that he is going to his ex's wedding. Why people do that to themselves, I have no idea. But in any case, he don't have a date. So he convinces her, I think her name is Alexa and his name is Drew. He convinces Alexa to be his date and his pretend girlfriend for this event. And she agrees to go. And as of course rom-coms do, what is fake becomes real and things get messy, and I'm sure there's a happily ever after. I don't think that's a spoiler. Look at the cover of this book. I have heard good things about it. Every recommendation from the other two books pretty much led me to this, so I picked it up and I'm ready to continue my rom-com, I guess, marathon. Next up is a book I got at the Barnes & Noble book haul sale. Everything was 50% off, or everything within the book haul was 50% off. And it is My Plain Jane, written by Cynthia Han, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. Jody Meadows sounds familiar to me. What I am understanding that this is a YA version of a Jane Eyre retelling, and that's pretty much all I needed to know. Charlotte Bronte Jane Eyre is one of my favorite books, and I'm always up for a good retelling of one of my faves. On the back it says a fantastic romantic comedic, entirely but not really faithful retelling of Jane Eyre. Obviously not really if it's comedic, because let's be honest, Jane Eyre was the antithesis of funny. I'm kind of curious what a YA retelling actually means, especially with this particular narrative, considering that in the original text Jane Eyre was extremely young and Rochester was, well, comparatively speaking, old. We'll see. How can you go wrong with a Jane Eyre retelling? Please don't go wrong. So if you've been watching my channel for a little bit, you know that I am an avid comic reader. I read them every month, and September will not be any different. This month I am eagerly waiting to get into the second and the third volume of The Wicked and the Divine. These are written by Kieran Gillen and the art is done by Jamie McKelvey. I read the first volume in August and I loved it. It is about gods, 12 of them in fact, and they reincarnate every 90 years and live among us for 2 and then they die. So in this story it is 2014 and they are back. And they are as popular as ever. They are basically modern day pop stars. They throw concerts, they attend conventions, they sell merch, they have acolytes and fans, you know, all the trappings of modern day instant fame success. And they are living it up, burning the candle at both ends because they only got 2 years and they want to make every moment count. But then something happens and tragedy kind of ensues and the whole incident is draped in mystery. But a super fan named Laura has decided to investigate what happened to see if it was just kind of an isolated incident or if it could be the beginning of something infinitely more sinister. The story is so far really good. I like the dialogue, I like the character development, but what really sold me was the artwork. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'll show you something from the first book. It is just really gorgeous. I believe the series has already ended, so it'll be easy for me to continue the series without any breaks, as long as I can find copies of it. And so far I've been having a lot of success finding kind of reasonably priced used copies. I've known about this series for a while. In the beginning, when it first came out, everybody was kind of touting it up, how awesome it is, but once the fanfare kind of dies down, you get more mixed reviews, but it's usually either people love it or they hate it. So far, I'm in the first camp. We shall see if that continues. Next up, I have Black Science, written by Rick Remender and the art done by Matteo Scalera. This is the first volume. I haven't read this yet, but from my understanding, it is about a scientist who has developed a means for interdimensional travel. And during his first, I guess, try, something goes wrong and they get stuck in something called the Eververse, where it's kind of in between dimensions. The story pretty much continues that they are dealing with other beings in this Eververse, trying to figure out what went wrong and how to get back to their dimension. The reason why I picked this up is because I know the series has finally ended. I believe over the spring or summer. Therefore, all of the issues are out and I can pick them up at my leisure. Secondly, Rick Remender and science fiction. I was a fan of his Fear Agent series, and I think he does a really good job with this medium. He reminds me of James Gunn a little bit. A lot of action, a lot of violence, and a very kind of cheeky humor that plays well within this universe. The artwork is pretty standard. It's not as pretty as Fear Agent, but I haven't read the story, so it could be definitely something that sets the mood for the narrative inside. Again, I heard good and bad things about this series, but mostly really good. So people who didn't like it pretty much say that it's just Remender, who they're not really big fan of. And if that's the case, I do like Remender's writing style, so I think this is worth a shot. Black Science. Next up, I have Sidekick. This is by J. Michael Straczynski, and the art is done by Tom Mandrake. This one I've been kind of waiting to read. It's about a sidekick named Flyboy, and his mentor, Red Cowl, has died. I'm not sure about that. He's either dead or missing. In either case, after the incident, the entire world, including the hero community, has turned their back on Flyboy, and he's kind of left alone to fend for himself. So he links up with a former enemy. What is her name? Julia Moonglow. And they together investigate the circumstances behind Red Cowl's disappearance. And from what I understand, what they discover turns Flyboy's life completely upside down. I was introduced to J. Michael Straczynski's work through the Superman Earth 1 series that came out, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. He did such a phenomenal job with character emotional development in that series that honestly I'm just compelled to read anything that he writes. Character development is a big deal for me, and considering the synopsis of the story, I expect to go through a lot of highs and lows. The artwork looks pretty good. Gotta be careful. This is a mature reading book, so expect maybe strong language, excessive violence, and possibly nudity. So for kids out there, be careful. But yeah, it looks good. It sounds great. And with J. Michael Straczynski writing, I feel comfortable that I'm going to enjoy this tale. And lastly, but certainly not least, I have Grayson, the Super Spy Omnibus. This is written by Tim Seeley and Tom King, and the art is done by Michael Janin. This is basically the complete series of Dick Grayson during his Agent 37 story arc. If you're unfamiliar with Dick Grayson, he is Bruce Wayne's first ward, therefore Batman's first Robin. Once he was relieved of that position, he became Nightwing and joined a group called Teen Titans. And then something happens. Now he's hiding in plain sight as a spy within an organization called Spiral, but he is also a mole for Batman. Batman is investigating the connection to Spiral and the collection of certain artifacts that may have either scientific or magical abilities. I haven't pretty much figured that out yet. However, this is purely a spy story. It reads like a spy story. Dick Grayson comes off like a cross between Batman, James Bond, and let's say a sprinkle of Sterling Archer. Danger zone. Not as ridiculous, definitely confident and humorous. I think Tim Seeley does a good job of creating a new and older and more mature Grayson. He's still in his early 20s, but he's definitely more mature than he was when he was Robin or his first iteration of Nightwing. Tom King, being a former CIA agent, adds a bit of realism to the whole spy narrative. It really is quite interesting. And Michael Janin does a fantastic job with the artwork. I mean, I heard that the creators at DC wanted a sexy spy story, and that's exactly what we're getting. I mean, that's sexy, right? Ooh. Look at that. This is a hunk of a book. It contains every issue of the Grayson storyline. I believe this is somewhere near 800 pages. I have already started reading it. My hope is to complete this by end of September. If you are one to pray, say a little prayer for me. So that's it, guys. That is my September TBR. What do you think? Have you read any of these books? If you have, leave comments down below and tell me what you thought of them. If you know any books similar to this and you have suggestions for me, leave those too, because I'm always looking for something interesting to read. If you have a TBR or you put up a TBR video, put a link down below. I definitely would like to see what you guys are reading too. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because your support is always appreciated. And of course, thank you guys for watching. Happy reading, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.